Hi there. We're going to try some watercoloring today using Concord and 9th Painted Rose. I have it on watercolor paper and I've heat embossed it with white embossing powder. And I did one a little earlier. I used 2 green colors of Distress ink, peel paint and forest moss, and mostly spun sugar on the rose with a little worn lipstick. So we're going to use wet on wet, so that means I'm going to put water onto the areas first and then add in some color and let the water pull it out for the most part. So let's try it. I've put some color down onto the white part of my media mat, and actually it's a little dried up right now because I did the first one earlier this morning, so I'm just going to squirt some water down. And I've got 2 water brushes, so I'm going to try to keep one just for water and one for the color, but you can really do this just with one. I'm going to try the leaves first, so I'm going to lay down some water here. And you don't have to have it sopping wet, but you want to be able to see that the water is shiny on the paper. And sometimes you'll see me check that the brush is moist. And then I'll add a little water to my ink that's on the media mat here, just to wake it up again. Oh, and I've put it in pink. That's not a good leaf color. Let's try some green. That looks better. So I just want to dab on the color where I want it kind of the most intense and let the water pull it towards the edges. So you can see there's a lot of veins there that's holding the watercolor separate from its neighbors. So we'll just see how that goes. And then we'll do the same thing over in this leaf here. So it should go fairly quickly because it's not rocket science. And the thing with watercolor is don't mess with it too much. Just lay it down and then let the water do some work. So I'm just going to dab a little forest moss along the centers of where the vein of the leaf would be, and we'll see what happens with that. So I'm kind of rinsing my brush out and just cleaning it off on this paper towel here. So we'll go over to the rose here. I'm going to just put some water in a few areas that are not really touching each other, although because of the heat embossing we won't really have trouble with areas touching each other. So we'll go into that pink and just lay some. I'm going to kind of try to dab it so that I don't get any really regular lines. I find sometimes I'm too how can I put it? I try to fill in the areas too much. I don't leave any white, so I try to stop that by kind of just pouncing the paint in rather than trying to color it in. So I try to use more of a dabbing motion. Here's my water one again. Water and then color. Before these get too dry, I want to take just a little touch of the darker worn lipstick color and dab a little bit of that in. Just to make it a little bit darker towards where the flower parts are growing from. Back to the light, get some water laid in here. So you could do different color combinations with this. You could make different colored roses. You could add yellows into this to make sort of blushy, orangey, make it more sort of a coral color. I have lots of roses in my yard, so I could go out and see what's going on out there. I have one that has very dark flowers, but they start off kind of almost yellowish, but then they get really dark red at the outside of the petals, so those would be kind of neat to try to paint those in. Here I got quite a dark color on my brush. Maybe add a little water to that. And I got a hair from something. Maybe my cat. Try and pick that up. There. No, it's still there. There. Okay. Almost done. Get some water on this big one here. Hope I'm staying in the area where you can see all this. I've got a new holder for my phone that I thought I would try out with a little video. Do 2 areas here. It's not always easy to know which ones you've put the water down on, so having it wet though does make it easier to lay the watercolor down. And I'm using Distress inks. There's something that a lot of us have, and these are not the oxides. The oxides are more opaque. You can watercolor with them, but they're not as see-through. I should try it and see what the differences are, but I like the regular Distress for this kind of really soft look. A little more dark in there. I think I need to do this one. Some of these center petals. Here it's quite tight in the middle, so we'll have a bit more color altogether. And get some of the darker pink in there too. And I'm purposely trying to just dab it in without getting a lot of thought into it, because I get a little crazy. There we go. And I think we just have this one here. And I notice this is looking a little stiff over here. I'm going to add a little more water and a little more light color up here while I still have a hope of it being not all dry yet. And I'm just going to have a look, see that I haven't missed anything glaring. And I'm going to let that dry on its own. And here's the one I did this morning. So I hope you give this one a try.